pieces, at least for how all my things used to be before. So I can't do like the regular music streams. But I figure y'all can hang out with me while I do my regular guitar practice. Because like honestly, the stuff I was doing on the stream before wasn't my guitar practice, like how I actually practice. Because pretty much what I do is I just do. All day. What's up? But another exercise I like to do that I've been working on lately is it's a counterpoint exercise that I came up with is I think my guitar's out too. What's up, dude? Just doing. I'm gonna check my tuning real quick. Where'd I put my tuner? Yeah, I've just been practicing my guitar lately. If I can find my tuner, that'd be great. We rearranged the house and now I can't find anything. So, well, I'm just gonna have to figure out where the tuner is some other time. Maybe it's over here. Oh, I think I found it. Yep, here we go. Alright. Yeah, thanks, man. I just gotta tune this sucker. Just make sure it's slightly flat on the D. There we go. Yeah, but mostly what I do is just I practice just the G scale going up 3 octaves. Motherfucker. 1, 2, 3, 4. Yeah, son of a bitch. One of the things I like to do is practice going F tempo, then going double time to the point where I don't have enough time to think about where to put my fingers. That way I can see how well my muscle memory is working. One of the things that really need to work on is just intonating at the properly, and also working on volume control. And that's something that I find is very difficult for at least electrical guitar. Because on classical guitar, like the amount of pressure that I'm using with my fingers doesn't create as much of a difference. Whereas with this, with the amplification and everything, it really changes how it sounds if I just accidentally too softly pick something. And also, like, it's so frustrating with electric guitar that, like, my regular grip just bends stuff out of tune so easily. I just need to work on that, I guess, but still, it's frustrating. Yeah, metronome, or not metronome, clicky thing, but metronome, unwound. Another thing I like to do is just practice a little bit with just some rhythm. It's weird that you have to tune the G string to fit between the B and the D string. Because if it's in tune with the B string, if it's in tune with the D string, it's not in tune with the B string. So you just gotta make it slightly out of tune to get it to work across the board. Another thing I like to practice is doing the whole shape and plucking all at once. It helps kind of build finger dexterity. As well as getting used to plucking different strings and shifting which strings you're plucking constantly. I'm feeling a lot better. Hey, what's up, man? How's it going? It was weird because my voice was out for like a couple days, man. It sucked. I still feel under the weather, but way better. I can't wait to show you, dude. So I got this new guitar that's coming from Guitar Center. It's a Conrad violin guitar, 1967. I think it's model 1437. It's a Matsumoku guitar, I believe, from everything that I have been researching. And it's got a violin shape. It's really cool looking. It's going to be here on Monday. I can't wait to do a little unboxing video and show y'all. And sometimes I just like to kind of jam a little bit. Something I've been learning a lot lately is to practice kind of using discordant chords as a way to kind of lead into other ones. So something I was learning recently is using the backdoor progression. So going from your minor 4 to a flat 7 to your tonic. So essentially, in like if we were playing key of C, it would be like if I had a song that, you know, I went from say we're in the key of C, we have a nice little song. We go to G, then we go to F. We turn that F into an F minor. Then we can add in a B flat 7 right there. So we've already got most of the shape right there. Now for a 7 chord on the D, G, and B strings, all you have to do is drop your root note, which is in the middle, which is on your G string. So say you're playing an A chord. If you want to make it an A7, drop that A, or that's not an A on here, but drop your middle note down 2 frets or a whole step, and that'll give you your dominant 7 sound. So if I'm going from, so let's say I have right here at the F chord right here, regular major F, and then I switch over to F minor. Well, from here, I can just add in an extra note and boom, B7. And that will lead me back to C. So I've been having a lot of fun with that, just kind of working that into progressions. And it's a nice little way to kind of just add a little bit of flavor into something, because like you don't really have to change too much from your minor 4 chord to a dominant 7. All you really have to do is just change one note. So what note are we changing? We're going from C to D. So we're just raising the 5th up by a whole tone on your 4 chord, on your minor 4 chord, and that gives you the dominant 7. So let's see if I can show you this. So like that, and then you add in your pinky right here, boom. So that's a nice little way to kind of get right back to your root chord of whatever key you're in. All you got to do is remember that, like say if I'm playing, let's make the 4A. So we're playing key of E. Going up to, what's this? B. So we're gonna go E, and then to an A minor, and then all I have to do is just add in that little pinky again, and that'll lead me back to E. Boom. Simple. That's just been something I've had a lot of fun practicing lately. It's just, so what I do is I have these charts that I've made. And by the way, check out my guitar collection. sweet, isn't it? Anyways, I made these last year, and basically how I've taught myself music theory and music in general. So if you can see here, I have circle of fifths right here, but added on to the circle of fifths, this seems like this is very busy, but once you kind of know the formula, it makes a lot of sense. So the way that I have this set up is that you have your basic circle of fifths from here to here, in between this white line and the regular line. So you got, whatever chord you want to start on, that'll be your key. So we got key of G, and then you got your third, minor second, minor fourth, your diminished chord. And then underneath that, I have put a ring of the tritone substitutes. So say you don't want to go from, the typical thing would be to go from, let's go C, G, C, G. That's very, very pretty sounding. It's very basic kind of resolution. You got your basic perfect cadence right there. I hate doing that. That's so freaking boring. It is the most boring thing to do, and it's everywhere. But that's because it works. That's because a lot of people don't know. All you have to do in order to get a really cool chord that'll resolve also to the tonic, that doesn't have to be a flat 7 or just a dominant 5, you can just go up a semitone from your root, make that a dominant 7 chord, and boom, you have your tritone substitute. So on here, to make it easier for myself, instead of having to think about it every single time, I just get these memorized by playing in all these different keys. So for the key of C, you go up a semitone, and that gives you D flat 7. D flat 7 will always resolve to C. Let me show you. Whoop. So we're going to go from, this is D flat 7. So it's just like your D7. You just move it down half a step. D flat 7, and C is right here. So like you're creating a hole for C to go in. Just like how, but it doesn't sound as spicy as. Why the hell did my guitar tone change? That was fucking, there we go. My bridge pickup, or not my bridge, my neck pickup is messed up. What's up, doorknob? But yeah, that's an easy way to create a really cool amount of tension that resolves right to your root chord. So especially if you're going to be using it in, like, if we're going to be doing, say, a song in, let's just use C right now since I was doing that earlier. So we got key of C. We can go somewhere with it. I'm going to go to A minor. Then we're going to go up a 4 to the D minor. But I want to get back to my root note for the next kind of loop, because pretty much music works in loops. It sounds a lot cooler than going from C. Let me do it without the pick. Go to A minor, then D minor. I'm going to go to G. And that's very pretty sounding and everything, but it's not as cool as you can get with that. It's not as strong of a resolution as, like, yeah, that works. Not as well as. But that's why I have that set up that way. So that's one part of the chart. F minor 9. Yeah. 1 second. Let me. Are we talking about the 9 of F or the 9 of the root scale? Okay, so F minor 9. That'd be, yeah, this right here. You can go for, ooh, that's a really cool progression right there. So go from your F minor 9 to a B flat 7 to C. So from F minor 9, I would say go to B flat 7. And that gives you a backdoor progression from your minor 4 to your flat 7 dominant to your root chord. But also I have another chart that kind of explains why those work. So, here we go. The weirdest looking chart I have. So we have, this is weird for me because I'm having to do all this backwards. You have your tonic right here. Now, as you can see, all these notes connect in various ways. I have it set up here to where you can see your seconds and your sevenths and your nines are colored with purple and orange. Your, what the fuck is that? Your sixth and your thirds are yellow and red. And your fifth, fourths are yellow, or blue-green. So, if we want to move, say, to some spicy chords, we can go to the flat 7, which also connects to it by a, what is this? By a second slash seventh. Do we need this? Do you know the song Need to? Used to. I haven't heard that before. Yeah, you can do a lot with 2 chords. That's the thing. Even within 2 chords. Within pretty much. So if you take your C chord and your D minor chord, boom, that's all you really need. Because that gives you all the flavors that you'll need. You can just switch between those. What gives things its spiciness is switching between major and minor. Even sevenths and ninths and all that stuff, all that spice is just switching the chord to sounding major or minor, or adding minor things on top of a major chord, and it gives it a little bit extra spice. That's all it really is. It's really just about one type of interval. Either you go for your major third, minor third. Everything else is just a permutation of that. Because even if you have your fourths, your fourth fifths, if you want to add on an extra chord and you want it to sound cool and not just kind of boring, I mean, like, yeah, it's nice to do chordal ones, but those are just so overproduced now. You're going to throw on your major third or your minor third, and that's what gives it the sound. But say if you change one of these to being a major third or a minor third, it's going to give it even more spice. But I digress. This is what I was talking about originally. So, as you can see here, all the spicy chords that resolve right to C are directly connected to it. So your B flat 7 is going to resolve to C. Your D flat 7 is going to resolve to C. Your tritone is not going to resolve to C in the same way that you think it does. It kind of does, but not well. It sounds weird. That's why it's not connected on here. But all the other chords that you want, if you want to know how well it's going to resolve, it's all going to be connected to this one. And it'll show you which one. So like your flat 6 is not going to connect well to your C. So what you want to, where you get toward a little bit. Whoops. But yeah, I blacked out on me for a second. Yeah, dude, all you have to do is just go online, start learning a lot of music theory, and then start writing out your ideas. This one I copied from a video that I saw, but actually originally it only had 3 of the pedals, and I had my hippy dippy phase. I love spirituality and stuff like that, and the Tree of Life and the Flower of Life, I found very interestingly have importance in art. If you want to understand proportion, if you want to understand music, and you want to understand art, you have to understand mathematics, proportion, and how they combine to each other. But regardless, these things. So I put in an inverted version of it, which goes through all of the, as though this was a minor key, as though it was minor Aeolian. So you can go from your your root to your diminished second, flat third, and all this. All this stuff will all resolve and play well together. So no matter what chord I play in this, if I just looked at what chord it's either next to or what chord it's connected to, it will resolve to that chord. So at some point I'm going to upload some of these photos so that way people can copy them too. But I think it's better to not really copy as much as it is to go learn the information. Yeah, you can kind of copy some of the diagrams, but if you draw it out yourself and you start learning the theory, it will sink in way faster and way better than watching any of the videos or just getting pre-made charts or getting stickers for your guitar or whatever. Yeah, it is like a periodic table. So this is every scale. So the way that I do notes, all of my notes, I see them in color. I'm not a synesthete, but when I think about notes, I think of them in terms because I'm an artist. Most of what I do is painting. I got into music way later. I mean, I did a lot of music when I was younger, but that's because I didn't know what I was doing and I was just making crappy electronic music that no one likes to listen to. But um what was I saying? Yeah. So I think of music in terms of color. So you're going to start on one end of the spectrum and you're going to move all the way through it. And the way that color combines in harmony also falls in line with this as well. So your warm colors play very well together and your cool colors play very well together. But if you combine, say, your warm and some of your cool, you can get some very nice complementary tones, some contrast, something that makes it feel like you're actually going somewhere. Like in a monochromatic painting, it feels kind of nice, but it feels like you're not really doing much with it. Whereas if you have a painting that has a lot of color, so like, let me show you. So let's take this painting for a second. This is nice. It's okay. It has a little bit of, some contrast, not too heavy though. It doesn't really have much going on with it. But if you take that painting and you compare it to, say, this painting that has some complementary colors, it feels a lot more harmonious. It feels more artful. It feels like there's actual intention into it. Hey, dude, always send it to me. Yeah, heck yeah. Most of my music is horrible. Have you heard my new song, dude? It sucks ass, but I still left it up there anyways. So I'm actually working on a way better one now that I'll put out at some point, but I don't have any lyrics for it. But going back to this, the way that I think of music is in terms of color, in terms of spectrum and harmony. Or color harmony, not just musical harmony. Like in painting, your complementary colors are ones that are almost, not all the way directly across from each other, but just slightly askew from across each other. Just like in music. The colors that work well together aren't the ones that are directly opposite each other, but the ones that are slightly off. This is a live broadcast, yeah. So what I'm doing up here is I've written out every single scale and I've colored them. And the way that I conceptualize flats and whole tones, I do that by assigning, right, it does look kind of like an atom. I assign them whole tones, or the white keys on the keyboard get a circle. They get a circular pattern to them. Whereas the flats, flat sharps, are square. So that way I can easily, at a glance, see if I see a purple circle, I know. If I see a yellow circle, I immediately know that's E. I actually have it now down so much that even if I look at this, I just know that this is A and E and a little bit of C in there. Because it's dark blue, yellow, and a little bit of red. But that's just because of how I made these charts. But when you do this, this will create a better understanding for you of how all these notes fit together. Because you can see that the pattern kind of goes up and everything shifts. But it also stays relatively the same. I'm probably explaining this very badly, but this is just how I practice music. I just think about this stuff I stare at this chart and I practice scales and I practice chords. It's more like having your autistic friend that just won't stop talking about one single thing. Like I've been talking to my wife about this violin guitar for almost a week now, and I have done so much research on it. I've obsessed over it, and I've learned a lot about it. Thankfully, I know what to not do when cleaning that vintage guitar, thankfully. And also that I need to take it to a luthier at some point to get it worked on. But with that, I mostly use this as a reference. So like, if I want to know what's the 5 of E, well I know that's A, but no, that's B. But I can go up here and see, oh, it's right there. Boom. Also at the bottom of this, I wrote down how many sharps and flats there are in every single key. So that way, if I need to know, okay, this key has 3 sharps. What key is that? That will be the key of A. I can just look right here. Boom. 3 sharps. And I wouldn't say that I've memorized that really well yet. At some point, I need to. It does get a little complicated, but once you start kind of creating these charts for yourself, it starts simplifying in your mind. Like, I'm going to take off my guitar because this is hurting my back. And I love talking about music theory. All right. Here we go. That's just one of the charts. That's just that one. Also, if you look a little bit closer, I wrote down, I don't know if is it showing up properly? Okay, cool. I wrote down bright, peaceful, like how the feeling of each chord resolving to the next one, how it feels. It's not particularly accurate, but it does help. Oh my God, I wish she wouldn't just leave these everywhere. But for this chart, so the way that I did this, have I heard about ants from up there? I've heard of Neutral Milk Hotel. I have not heard of ants from up there. But with this chart, as you can see, if you look in the middle, I mean, I think this is backwards. Dang it. Okay, I'm gonna flip this around. Here we go. All right, so as you can see, here it gives you a little kind of cheat sheet of whatever chord you want to start as your key, that becomes your 1. And so you just use this grid. So if I say a key of D, if I'm key of D, the G is going to be my 4, A is going to be my 5, and so on. And the inner ring is your tritone substitute that'll lead you back to your root note. But all these extra circles on top of it, these are all of the secondary dominant chords that will lead back to whatever chord you need. And so since they're color graded, it's easier to conceptualize once you get used to the system. So I know that G and D are orange and light blue. So if I go from a light blue chord and I want to go, or if I'm at D and I want to go to the light blue chord, I'd use a D7. If I want to, say, then go from D7 to a different chord, I can see that A also is connected to D because it has this little orange circle in it. So I can use this A7. I can go from D, G, D7, A7 to F minor if I really want to, or D flat minor. Okay, so how to do it from the bottom up. What you're going to want to do is you're going to want to go online, look up circle of fifths, and that'll give you this diagram. Take a compass, get a large ass piece of paper, take one of those compass things, stick it on there, get a large circle going, and then create 3 rings for yourself. And then copy that diagram that you see online. Draw that out, and then color it in with the colors of the rainbow of however you understand the notes. For me, I always think of the root as being red. But that's just how I see it. But just copy that diagram onto the piece of paper. Get that all written out, and as you're doing it, things will start to make a lot more sense. Because this didn't make any sense to me when I first started creating it. But as I created it, I started noticing the patterns and connections between different chords and keys. So you're going to want to get that part done. Then after that, what you're going to want to do is look up tritone substitutes and figure out each one for each chord. It's actually a very simple diagram or a very simple pattern, but you need to research that first to get it stuck in your head. And then when you write it all down, it really will cement in there. Then you'll have your inner ring. That's basically all you really need at first. But the way I did it is after you get your compass down, you get your circle all set, you've written all the notes in it, you've colored it in, what you do then is you look up what are called secondary dominant chords. And what that means is, so a dominant chord is a chord that's typically the 5th position in a scale. So say we're going key of C, G is in the 5th position. and that leads very well back to C. A secondary dominant chord is the fifth position of the chord that you've chosen. So, say I'm in key of C, and I want to get to G, and I want to resolve to G very easily and very smoothly. Well, the 5 of any key always resolves very nicely to the tonic. So let's think of, instead of the chord G being the key of C, I just think of it as G, just G. No keys or anything. It's just G. What leads well to G? Well, D does. So we take that chord D, we make it into a 7 chord, makes it a little spicy, but that resolves really nicely to G. And that's what's called a secondary dominant. That is a way that you can go from C to G very smoothly. You just go from C to D7 to G. Yep, 1 to 5 is the most resolved. Correct, yes. Or at least that's how we kind of conceive of it. I think that the most resolved is actually the tritone substitute. So if you go up a semitone, so it's like a half note in whatever key, and make that a flat 7 chord, because it really would be flat 7. I know they say dominant 7, but that doesn't really, I think, explain it as well, because you can have a 7th chord, but it's a major 7, but it won't give the same type of resolution. Yes, 5. Ooh, yeah. Also, minor 5 to minor 1 is also very nice sounding as well. But the secondary dominant is basically the 5 of whatever chord you want. So actually, technically, the secondary dominant of C is G7. See, right here. And it resolves really nice to C. But because we're starting the key of C, it's not called the secondary dominant. It's just called the dominant. The secondary dominant is whatever chord resolves well to any other chord in that key. So you're going to basically find out what is the 5th of every single note that I need. So start in C, but this way. Start C, that's going to be G. If I want to know what the 5 is of E, I just go up 1, 2, 3, wait, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's B. B is the secondary dominant of E. So you'll write that down in a little circle. So right here I have E minor on the thing. So I drew a little circle for that to show that it's a little complicated and a little convoluted, but basically all these circles are the chords that easily resolve to whatever the inner color is. So the outer color is dark blue, which is A. The inner color is D, which is orange. That resolves really well to D. Let's find another chord that has A in it. Let's see what resolves well to A. And it looks like E7. So if we're going to go from E7, that resolves well to A. Then we take that A, make that into an A7, that resolves well to D. F sharp F sharp minor 7 9, very jazzy. Ooh, yeah, let me try that real quick. And actually, so I wish I had. Okay, I have my piano right here. So let's look at something real quick. This is not going to make any noise when I click on it because it's not turned on, but all of the notes that you really want to play in jazz are not the butter notes. They're not the 3rd, 5th, or your flat 7. You don't want to play these notes because that's just typical. You want to play one step up. You want to play your 9, your 4, and your 6, and play around these areas. This is what's going to give you that nice, weird, kind of ethereal, jazzy tone. Because, like, I know you can also do, like, throw in, flats and sharps and grace notes and all those things. But really, all you have to do is just shift up. So if you're playing key of C and you play a C, let's just say C7 or something like that, your melody should be in D minor. It should be just one step up and a minor version of it. And that will give you a really fancy way of understanding how jazz works. Because I've been listening to a lot of jazz, watching lots of videos on jazz. I wish I could like have someone play a C chord for me, but so if you had like a say, let's do C major 7. And I play the chords from, play the notes from D minor over it. It sounds really nice. Let's try that. Okay, so F sharp minor 9. Yeah. Very nice. That's because you're playing so I don't like to think of things, I hate it when jazz people talk about playing 9s and sharp 11s and 13s. Just say what they actually fucking are. They're your 2, your 4s, and your 6s. That's what they really are. 2 4s and 6s up an octave. That's all it is. It doesn't need to have all these, because it confused the hell out of me. I was like, what's a minor 9? It's nothing different. There's only 7 notes, and with 5 sharps and flats, 5 spice notes thrown in there. So if you just take that and you, oh, this is actually I think that's a F sharp minor, F sharp minor 7 add 9. Pretty sure that's what that is. Because this, I think, is a true F minor 9. Dude, you know what's hilarious? I was listening to his music theory thing where he talks to different people about, how he conceives of music. It's very, 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 very fucking similar to how I conceive of music as well. And try C minor 9, very weird. Okay. I'm trying to think of how I would do that. Okay, wait. This one right here. But yeah, I was listening to a lot of Bill Evans, listened to a bunch of his performances over the weekend. I just love his stuff, and the way that he reconceives. C, D sharp. Wait, so you have an A sharp, D sharp. Where the fuck are you getting that D and the D sharp? It's probably easier to do on a piano. Oh, I see. See if I can figure out a different way to play this. So we got C, C, D, and then and A sharp. Okay. So that one. Hi, Appa. You gonna sit up here with us? Come on, Appa. Appa, come on. There we go. Is that the right chord? But something I've kind of noticed is also basically, thank you for blocking this demonstration, buddy. Such a great mascot. Yeah, for real, DJ Paulid. Is if you just bar anything, whatever you do, just don't play the notes right next to your bar, and boom, you can just play anything really smoothly. All the notes work if you skip one fret. But the minute that you put in a note on that fret right next to you, That's where you kind of get your more sour stuff. Not to say that sour is bad. Sour is just depends on how you want to resolve stuff. If you're gonna put in a diminished, you need to do it for a reason. Man, what's that thing I was playing? Yeah. But that's how I basically conceive of music. You know, I use all these charts and everything as a way for me to understand it better. But the way I'm explaining it, just it won't really sink in until you create one of these charts yourself. So all you have to do, go online, look up circle of fifths, get a compass, draw out 3 circles, write in your notes, get that done, go from there. Because then after you do that, if you know enough theory, you'll know what things you want to add to your circle. Because you might want to add more rings because you'll see different relationships of how things fit together. And you can find whatever way you want to correlate that. I just do it this way because this is how it works for my brain. What's the difference between melancholy and sad? Melancholy is depression. It's that feeling of your emptiness. It's not sadness. Sadness and melancholy are completely different. Sadness is bringing you to tears. It's emotional overload. It's too much at once. You feel hurt. Whereas melancholy, you feel empty. You feel void. You feel numb. You feel like you can't feel anymore. That's the difference. Then after you get that done, depending on what instrument you use, make a chart of all the notes on your instrument. Be it, I mean, if it's a piano, it's going to be easy, but still, you should write it out anyways, because then it's going to get ingrained in your mind. I did it for guitar, and then I color coordinate it, so that way I knew exactly where everything was. And that way it can connect easily to all my other charts. Have a Nice Life. I think I've heard that one before. I'll have to check that out. But within the guitar, it has every single mode that you'll ever need. That's a different video, I think, for a different time. Unless anyone wants to hear how you can find out how to play any mode on the guitar extremely easily. But once you get this done and that done, your musical understanding just expands so much. And it's almost to the point where you can't really explain it. It's intuitive. So that's why I encourage people to write out these charts. Another thing I did, which I think is extremely helpful, that I think other people should do as well, is write out every single note for every single chord. Just major chords. You don't need to do minor chords. Just write out every single major chord and have it on a little easy reference. So that way, if you want to know what notes are in the and B major, you'll easily know that it's boom. It's B, E flat, F sharp. Easy to know at a glance. And that way, you don't necessarily have to memorize it, but it'll help you think of the concepts in a way that's tangible, rather than trying to figure it out in your head and just trying, giving yourself a headache. You can just look at it. Because once you have all this stuff out in the real world, you no longer have to think about it. You just have to look at it and understand the relationships, and that just comes with working with them. My death consciousness by them will ruin your day. Ooh, that sounds good. I like that type of music. Another thing that's really good to do is just kind of figure out where all your white keys are going to be. That's what I kind of consider them. That's another thing that I did. So a lot of people are going to hate on me for this, especially actual violin players, because from everyone I've talked to, they hate it when people do this. I put on little dots on mine, and there are typically little stickers that you can get that tell you every note and everything. They're so ugly. I hate the way they look. So what I did is I got some inlay stickers for guitar, specifically for where like the frets are supposed to be, and I just bought a ton of them. And what I did is all the metallic ones, all the white keys, that's all of your notes in the key of C major. So that's the white keys on a keyboard. So that way I can easily see where all that stuff is. And then you can see some flats in there as well, but I'm not too concerned about those, because once you know where the whole notes are, A flat's just either a step up or a step down. But this way I can easily refer to whatever I need. Because the way that I'm teaching myself violin is not the way that anyone should teach themselves violin. Um, I do things in a way that's very eccentric, very much an idiosyncratic. I don't know if any of these methods will necessarily work for son of a bitch for other people. It's hard to get things just to stand still. Fucking hell, man. One second, I gotta put the phone down. This shit is just not leaning up like how it did. Shit's just falling over. Anyways, sorry about that. I love strings. Strings are awesome. So that's why I want to learn how to play. So the instruments that I'm working on so far is I have my wife has a ukulele. I play on that ever so often. It's very simple, very easy to do. And of course, I have the violin that I'm currently slowly working on, and also harmonica. This one I've gotten a lot better at. Yeah, it's very easy to kind of intuitively start playing. And I'm still working on guitar. I'm planning on getting a mandolin at some point soon. But that's going to basically just be the same thing as the violin, just a lot easier to play because I won't have to try to slowly figure out where the intonation is. And of course, you got a little keyboard and everything. But I'm going to have to get going. Hey, yep, married. I just don't have my rings on right now because I have multiple rings that I usually wear. And I do dishes all day at work, so my hands are usually messed up. So I have to let them air out. Another good chart to make for yourself is write out all notation. That way you can just have this up, easily see it. You have the colors, you got everything all set. That way it's just easy reference. It looks complicated for now, but once you take step one, just write out the notes, write out the colors. Step two, create a circle of fifths. Step three, write all the notes for your instrument. Create a neck or like a keyboard or something like that. Write down every single note. Color it in. Step four, create a notation chart and then color it in so that way it's easier for you to understand and see. Step five, create all the scales using the colors and the notes. Step six, create one of these. I'm not going to give you any hints on how to do that. You're going to have to figure that out by that time. But once you do that, music theory will just be easy. Modes are already in this. So modes are part of the neck. Let me show you. So since I have all of the whole notes or the white notes already kind of pre-put in there, all I have to do to find out what Locrian is start on B and then just play all the white notes in that section till I get to B. So B, C, D, E, F, G, A, B. Boom. Locrian. If I want to play G Mixolydian, I just play all the white notes from this shape. So G, A, B, C, D, E, F, G. And let's say I want to play a Mixolydian shape on a different key. I just take the same pattern that I learned from playing the G Mixolydian and I apply it to say B. Then I can play B Mixolydian, which would be B, C sharp, E flat, E, F sharp. Where was I? Yeah, whatever. It's the same shape. I kind of lost track of where I was. But let me show you real quick. Whoops. Oh, almost knocked over my guitar. But what I did is I put it on the side. So all the notes that are surrounded by that color are in the Mixolydian mode. So this is all Mixolydian. If I want, say, Ionian, I play all the notes that are in this red square. If I want to play all the notes that are in Dorian, I play all the notes that are in this yellow or orange kind of square, but goes weird, kind of shifts its shape. See how that works? And if I want to play Phrygian, I just play all the notes that are colored with the extra yellow border. And boom. I want to. I'm gonna have that at some point. I have a small apartment and I don't have room at the moment, nor do I have the funds. I work a very, very, very simple job. I don't get paid anywhere near the value of that I bring to the company. But that's neither here nor there. I'm probably gonna be poor for the rest of my life because I'm a musician. But whoops, oh man, disconnected the strap again. So one of these days, unless someone gifts me a bass, or I find one real cheap and I know how to fix it, I'm probably not gonna have one because those things are expensive. The closest thing that I have to a jazz bass is this right here. My Epiphone viola bass. It's really cool. I will say, it's got one problem though. This stupid 0 fret that they have up here just rattles. It just creates a buzz sound. If I click on it, it's fine. This way for a long time I had a tie tied around it just to get it to put pressure on that first note. Which I might do that again because it bugs me, but I don't like the look of it. Also, I'm thinking about getting new straps. So something that I've also been kind of obsessing over is the idea of vintage straps. Now, what do y'all think about that? Because for me, vintage, I like having stuff that fits together with whatever I'm playing. This is a newer instrument, so I don't mind this having a newer strap on it. But the guitar that I'm getting is from '67. So I was thinking about getting a vintage strap from around that year, possibly Ace, because I love the Dubs of Peace design. I might get the Jimi Hendrix pattern. But the thing is, the vintage ones are like $100 to $250 plus for just a strap. That costs almost as much as the guitar I'm getting. So I'm like, should I get the D'Angelico or whatever that brand is that's remaking Ace straps? That's only 30 bucks. But from everything I've read, the quality is very, very similar, but still not the same. So I'm just like, do I really just want to save up and get something that's unnecessarily expensive? Or do I want to just kind of bite the bullet and just be a little generic and not have the correct year? Which is like, does that even matter at that point? It's not like anybody's gonna know except for y'all now. But yeah, that's about as close as I get to having a jazz bass. So this is my bass that I got from Guitar Center. This is a 2022 Epiphone viola bass in very, very good condition. I don't know why they only sold it for $200. I think it's because Guitar Center is full of fools, which is awesome because I hope that they stay kind of ignorant for some of the value of some of their stuff. Because like the guitar that I got, I mean, it's not worth that much, and it does have not extensive damage. It has some cosmetic damage. But to me, I would be willing to pay $500 for that guitar that I bought, and I only had to pay $300. It's because I don't think that they understood the rarity of it, and the quality that it was built with. So the guitar that still in the mail, I'm waiting for it. I am so excited for it to get here. But it is a violin style guitar from Conrad. So it has a scroll headstock, which is very unique, made by the Matsumoku factory in Japan in around '67. Very distinct type of neck. They used a 3-ply neck of maple, which gave it even better stability. As well as their electronics could be wired backwards, so I'm gonna test that out when I get it, because that could have been one of the issues of why it was cheaper. But even then, I don't consider that necessarily a bad thing. It's just turned the other way. Who cares? You know. To me, that gives it a little bit more uniqueness, as well as the fact that with this guitar that's coming in the mail,
it specifically has a non-tremolo tailpiece. It has a tailpiece that's closer to looking like this than it is the originals that come with most of them. So about 80 to 90% of Matsumoku violin guitars come with a tremolo arm built in, which really messes with the tuning, and it would go out of tune extremely easily. But with the one that I'm getting, it doesn't have that. And it's very, very rare. Only like a few hundred were made stock with that tailpiece. So I'm very interested to see how that works out. But another thing that I noticed on that guitar is that it has replaced tuners because the tuners at that point for the Matsumoku factory weren't that great. They would slip a lot and they have a lot of issues. So it looks like they were replaced ones, which I don't mind. I'd rather have better tuners on it. I do like having authentic stuff, but who cares? I'd rather be able to play it. The biggest issue that I'm gonna face with this guitar though is I'm gonna have to take it to a luthier at some point because it is a hollow body just like this one. And the problem with all of these hollow bodies is that they designed them off of violins. What is something that a violin always has in it? And that's the sound post. That goes inside the guitar and right under the bridge to transfer the vibrations from one side to the other, also helping with the bracing, keeping it from folding in. And that is an issue that I'm very, very concerned about with this guitar, is that it'll eventually fold in. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to get a lighter gauge of string, put that on there, and take it to a luthier at some point when I have money. That's the problem, is I got to save up for a long time before I can do this. And hopefully it'll stand the test of time between then. Yeah, with hollow body guitars, they have a problem with the neck kind of folding in on them, especially early ones because they didn't realize that there was an issue because it's an issue that happens over time. So nowadays you have to go get something thrown in there to make it fit a little bit better. If I remember correctly, they solved the issue with the newer Epiphone versions of violin shaped stuff, but they don't really do it that much. It's not a popular look anymore, which I'm glad because it gives a little bit more uniqueness to my own style. But that's I think some of the reasons why it was cheaper on Guitar Center, that or they just didn't know what they had. Because everything that I'm seeing for these guitars is like around $700, and I understand that the cosmetic damage definitely takes away a lot from it. But for a Matsumoku guitar, those are pretty high quality, rivaling the American-made guitars at the time, except for in electronics. That was the only thing that the American guitars had that was superior at the time. And that was mostly just Gibson, Gretsch, all the fancy dancy ones. What's the major difference between a cheap and super expensive guitar? So the major differences are going to be what wood is used, how the neck is applied. So, like this one, I think, if I remember correctly, I'm pretty sure this is, I don't know if this is set in. I'm pretty sure it's bolted in. The cheaper guitars are not going to have the same amount of time put into them. That's why they're cheaper. It's easier nowadays because of our machinery to be able to make exact measurements and not have as many problems. But back in the day, all this stuff was still being handmade. So vintage, handmade, cheaper guitars could be awesome or they could suck. It was mostly due to how much attention was put into it in the factory, as well as the components. So the super expensive guitars are going to have pickups that produce better tone, that are cleaner sounding. They're not going to have as much noise in them. They are going to be of higher quality, as in they're going to last longer. They're going to be wired correctly. The components that they put into this are not going to just be generic. Whereas with cheaper guitars, sometimes they are generic, especially if they've been modded to replace parts and stuff. And the expensive guitars are, every part of it's going to be a lot more expensive. The neck is going to be made out of more expensive wood. The body is going to be made out of more expensive wood. Whereas with a cheap guitar, it's going to be made with the cheapest wood possible. Sometimes with ply, laminate. The way they do the finish is going to be very quick. It's going to be very cheap. It's going to be something that's going to have a lot of issues with it down the line. Sometimes it's better to get more expensive guitars, just save up and get a more expensive guitar. And what I mean by more expensive, I mean between 500 and 1,000. I'm not talking about going over 1,000. You don't really need to. There's no fucking point other than you have money to burn. Because between 500 and 1,000, the sound really is going to be up to how good you play. Under 500, it's going to be about like the quality of the instrument. Because like even a good player on a crappy instrument, they can make a crappy instrument sound good, but they're never going to make a crappy instrument sound great. But when it comes to like say the lawsuit era guitars, where they were mostly I'm going to switch to a different guitar or a different instrument. The lawsuit era guitars, the reason they're cheap is first of all, it was easier to manufacture cheaper labor over in Japan at the time. That's not to say that the quality was any worse. Especially the Matsumoku factory, their instruments are actually very high quality. But they were cheap because once they were perceived as an import, as a Japanese guitar, people were like, oh, I want an American-made one. I don't like those foreigners, which is the dumbest fucking thing ever. Which, like, to some degree, yes, some American-made things back in the day used to be a great quality. But that doesn't mean by necessity they are. Yeah, pretty much. But even now, like Chinese-made guitars, some of them can be pretty damn good for only being a couple $100. At least they can be playable now. So back in the day, especially in the early days of manufacturing overseas, there was a lot of difference in environment. So when they came over to America, they would fall apart. But that, like, most of those are pretty much gone. You're not going to really find those for sale, like as a playable instrument. You might find them as wall decoration, but not much. So for a lot of people, just having a name that wasn't Gibson, Fender, Epiphone, a Gretsch, Guild, or any of those type of really big name brands, people are like, oh, that's not one of the cool ones. I'm not going to buy that. So they had to be sold for cheaper. And so that's another reason why they're inexpensive guitars, even though they are of rival quality and style. And this is Patty. This is my Patrician from 1950. This is a Harmony Patrician archtop guitar, in fair condition. I bought it for $700. Worth every fucking penny. It's extremely hard to play. It's got tons of scratches and dents in it. And it's got a crack. Where's that crack? Very, very thin hairline crack. Right down the middle. Oh, black metal tremolo picking? I don't know. I've never actually listened to black metal, but I do tremolo picking all the time. I'll just be playing. I'll just like throw in some tremolo. But yeah, it's huge. It is. It's also really hard to play bar chords on because look at the action on this. Look at that. That's ridiculous. It's fucking ridiculous. But I can't lower it. Because I'm pretty sure, yeah. So, yeah, there's no way to lower it without, messing with the frets. Because the reason why it's so high is with archtop guitars, they were made back in the 30s and 40s and 50s for projection. They were made to be able to get as much sound as you could because people were playing in jazz bands that had trumpets. They had, cornets, and they also had freaking saxophones, pianos, drums. All those things were way louder than the guitar. So in order to make this louder, you have to raise the action. It creates a more projected sound, but also makes it a lot harder to play bar chords. Especially to get them all intonated. Like trying to play Stairway to Heaven on this thing is a nightmare. Like, let me try it. I have to squeeze the shit out of the neck just to get to. It's better for a lead playing, or if you're gonna do rhythm, just like. Let's do like, what's a jazzy chord that'd be? What's that chord that you were telling me about earlier? C minor 9. It's good for like jazzier chords. Heck yeah, man. What's it? How's it go? Chase pretty light. And yet I find this battle all alone. No one to cry to, no place to call home. But even playing just those chords on this guitar is like crushing my hand, man. So what's B4? What's that right here? Think that's B4? See, what's the high? I think I can hit A. Wouldn't notice that. That's D? No. So, at E, F, F sharp. That's F sharp. G. Let's see if we can hit a G. Nice. It's nice to have my voice back after losing it for a couple days. Barely can do that A up there. What's that? A5? Nope, can't do B. How's it going, Darius? How you doing, brother? This guitar is really good for, like, open chords. Like, I love it doing with my song with, heck yeah, unk chords, man. What kind of catalyst are you to set me in motion? You made me feel a certain way, change how I see your simple words of love. Break the clouds in my head. Make me feel a certain way. Change how I see. You change my reaction. Help me want to believe that life could be more than a dream. And now feel stable and able. See what I mean with the bar chords though? To be free. To be me. That's really freaking hard to do the bar chords on that. But this, yeah, if I could, it's a better one for that one. If I could write a poem, I would write it for you. I need to re-record that song too, because I sing off in the recorded version. If I could write a song, I would sing it for you. If I could spend back time, I'd go around again with you. Watch the stars from the mountain view, going around again with you. Even playing that hurts. Let's switch over to Caddy right here. This is my but yeah. It's easier to play on a nylon string. If I could build a ship, I would sail away with you. If I could read the stars, I would take you somewhere new. If I could spend back time, go around again with you. We spend our time together, just like we always do. Here we are living when we can, fighting off entropy, hoping for a day together, and I'm waiting for lonely. Never feels wasted, experiences we've tasted, spending our time so careless, walking on the precipice. If I could run and sleep, I would run to you. If I could go anywhere, I'd go nowhere without you. If I could spend back time, go around again with you, and I would wait a million lifetimes to go round again with you. Oh, I'm glad you like it. I've been working on it a lot lately. Can't wait to show you guys the new stuff I'm working on. Fat Crows was just a fun experiment. But what I'm working on lately is a lot more kind of produced. Yeah, well, I don't want him to hear that version actually. I'd rather he didn't hear that song because I need to re-record that. I don't like the way it sounds, honestly. The guitar playing is fine. I really need to re-record the vocals. At the time, I had a cold, and I always have the feeling like I'm gonna die at any minute. So, like, I just like to get as much done as I can. So I was like, okay, just get it done before you go to work. So that way, in case anything happens, you have the song made at least. How's it going, man? Oh, I want to show you. So there's another exercise that I've been working on a lot lately. It's just straight up, just playing an arpeggio of. Fuck. It's kind of hard to do sitting down weird, but it's just. And I'm trying also to not look at it as I'm doing it. Because this also kind of helps build awareness of where things are and where you want to go. It's easier to do on my other guitar. Let me try that. Actually, I know of the song. I don't know how to play it. I just know, load up on guns, bring your friends, it's all, da, 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 da. And that's pretty much all I know of the song. Something about a mosquito and a mulatto. But also another reason why I talk about getting inexpensive guitars is not a bad thing is because this one was like $400. That doesn't sound inexpensive if you're not a guitar player, but once you know how expensive instruments are to buy, it sounds cheap. But this has an amazing sound, and this is a Chinese-made Cordoba. It has such a nice, warm low end to it. Oh, thank you, Turtle. And that's something I love about nylon string classical guitars is that there's something about the rounded tones and how full they sound compared to, say, the steel string that I was like, listen, versus nice and bright. This is good for rhythm, but I love the way it just sounds. Just the, especially like if I'm gonna do, let's do some kind of like bluesy. Like, or let's go up to here. Yeah, that's what I did a lot too. It's a great way to learn how to sing, but it's not the way you should sing normally. You should be comfortable with your own uniqueness, because that's something I've noticed just in life in general. A lot of times it's good to have a role model. It's very good to have role models. It's very good to have people to look up to have goals and things, but not to attach ourselves and our identity to achieving an exact copy of our role models. That we should go beyond our role models in our own uniqueness, because our role models themselves have tremendous flaws that we don't know about. Sometimes we do, but most of the time we don't know about. So we shouldn't emulate them in every aspect. We should take lessons from them and be like, oh, that's great. I'm glad that I can learn how to do, that thing that they did, but don't do it all the time. You just learn it for practicing the ability to learn as well as appreciating the technique. Because sometimes you can do things that sound similar to someone. That's because you're using technique, but you're not necessarily copying directly their style or a one-to-one thing of what they did. I place a reason I like jazz a lot is I place a high value on the ability to improvise. But in order to improvise, first you have to practice singing how someone else has written a song. You have to practice a bunch of other songs first to kind of get the feel for how songs work and what they shift to. But from there, you can learn to improvise and develop your own style. like when I was learning how to sing, the people that I looked up to the most are Chris Cornell, Lane Staley, Joni Mitchell, Stevie Wonder, Freddie Mercury, and Steve Perry. Those are my vocal idols. Those are the people that I listen to specifically. I also lately I've been listening to a little bit of Joe Cocker, but Joe Cocker is just a copy. He's just a copy of soul artists, and I prefer to actually just sing with the Temptations than Joe Cocker. Because if I really want to develop that lady looking for leaf clovers, that kind of like that, gritty kind of sound, I don't want to imitate the imitation. I want to imitate the original. It's like same thing with Jimi Hendrix and Stevie Ray Vaughan, all these guys. They're very nice to listen to, and I love them very much. I don't try to imitate them. I try to learn from Albert King, who they are trying to imitate. Ooh, we're gonna land on the moon again? That'd be cool. But I'm gonna have to get going. I gotta do shit before I go to work. But yeah, I listen to a lot of the same songs over and over again from Chris Cornell, mostly because for some reason, I was obsessed with trying to reach extremely high notes. I think that was due to the algorithm feeding me a bunch of singers that sing very high and sing tenor style, even though they're baritones. Tenor and baritone kind of don't really exist. It's really just how you're used to using your vocal cords. I think a lot of what we consider our vocal range has to do with comfortability of how we just use our voices. We get in a certain mode when we're a kid that, oh no, I speak with Fry. I would talk down like low like this. Or like, I speak really high and I'm very emotive. Like that has nothing to do with your actual range. See you later, Darius. But like Chris Cornell, like I would sing a lot of his "Day I Try to Live," that kind of super high stuff. You don't have to, if you want to be able to sing good, you don't have to sing high. You don't have to sing low. You sing comfortably, and you sing with passion. You sing with good intonation. I love doing the extreme vocal stuff, but it's not necessary. It's only necessary if you want to sing some like early rock stuff, like what's that? Just a small town girl living in a lonely world. Or you could just sing it normally, how it fits with you, just like just a small town girl living in a lonely world. One is not better than the other. It's just. I actually have. If I remember correctly, his voice kind of sounds similar to kind of my own. I think it has to do with the same. Something I've noticed is people that sing very similar to me have very similar shaped nose and kind of just facial shape, which also all of that has to do. It shapes your resonance and how you just sound normally. Yeah, Chris Cornell had a baritone voice, like a deep, like bass baritone. But he sang like I remember what in Jesus Christ Pose he reaches like A sharp 5. In that, and you standing where your Jesus Christ pose, but he's putting that arms out where where he's putting that real gruff kind of thing on. I don't want to do it right now because it actually damages your voice, but at least mine. But yeah, he does all that stuff, but also he died relatively young, so we don't know what his voice would have turned into if he had kept that going later. Are they loud high up? Yes. That's another thing though is if you want to practice singing higher notes, get used to singing them quietly. Because if you sing with all that pressure all the time just to get those high notes, it's going to be harder to sing, it's going to damage your vocal cords faster, and it's just going to create more tension. But you want to be able to get to the point where you can sing, just kind of like very lightly, just go as soft as you can and figure out where you can go from there. Because when you can do that, then you can sing quieter, you can sing with better volume control. which also when you're doing recording, that helps quite a lot. So that way you're not just blowing out the thing and the guy has to use tons of compression to even everything out. Because that's especially when I'm, dude, that's all it is. Head voice, the supposed mixed voice doesn't exist. It's just head voice with, okay. I'm gonna do a little drawing for you real quick. So there's a little, I do have to get going though, but there's a little part of your throat where, so you got your nasal cavity, you got your nose, air's coming out there, and you got a little bit of a separation, and you got your mouth. Okay, I'm gonna show you guys this in just a sec. This is a really bad drawing, but this is really just for demonstration of, so you have your throat goes down like this, and you also have like a little, let me finish drawing it first. I don't know if it goes, I can't remember which way it closes, but you have a little flap of skin, or flap, that goes from your vocal cords. I'm just gonna draw a little circle here. So like, have you ever just purely just breathe out your nose? You're cutting off all the air to your mouth using this little flap thing that's right here. But if you can open that up a little bit, that's what creates the kind of that kind of like super high nasally sound, and that gives you your higher resonance. When you can control that little bit, which takes practice, just going from when you get used to being able to do that, you can control how much openness you have. So you can have that mixed voice where you're having extra resonance from your nasal passage while also doing falsetto. So it gives you instead of you get that more of that nasally quality to it, and that gives the extra high end for you. So it makes it sound as though you're singing in chest, whatever chest is, your chest voice, because it has a full range of the spectrum, versus your falsetto that usually kind of it. So if we're gonna go for the EQ, okay, so you got your, let's say 20 hertz, and I'll put 20K over here. When you're singing regular chest voice, you're kind of got a little bit of like that, and you have a little bit more high end. You got a little bit more breathiness in there. When you're singing falsetto, you're more like this. You're a little bit more rounded in your frequencies. But when you bring out that little bit, and you control that little bit of your throat, you can open that up a little bit. You take out that top part that rounds down, you get more of a kind of this sound. So it's a little bit closer to your chest voice. And that's, yeah, I should talk about this more in the next stream. But yeah, that's essentially how you can get it to where it'll sound brighter and sound less like it's just going, oh, you're going, ah, instead of, oh, But either way, they're both good. Both are necessary, and it's good to practice both. But if the first thing to do is practice singing in falsetto and just getting comfortable with singing those notes and switching between chest and falsetto. Because the thing that really separates the professional singers from just kind of just everybody else is how well they switch and shift between chest and falsetto. Like Freddie Mercury does falsetto. He does a little bit of kind of that head voice, where it's a little bit brighter, but most of the time he is just singing falsetto. Like, I ain't gonna lose, that type of thing, versus I ain't gonna lose, that kind of more of the brighter, kind of almost Led Zeppelin kind of sound. I would say practice to some Journey. He switches a lot between chest and falsetto. Don't try to sound like Steve Perry, but try to just sing the notes, and that'll help a lot. Oh, I'm glad that you liked it, man. Well, I'll catch you later. It's been a while since I've said that, but bye.